Men just simply don't talk about it. They don't admit it because we know that vulnerability is very risky. Because as I said before and many times before, that we've been taught that real men don't doubt themselves, real men don't crack, real men don't show weakness, so we just stay silent. Let's talk about something that most men rarely put into words, but almost every man feel it at one point in his life. It's that quiet, nagging fear of not being enough, not strong enough, not successful enough, not attractive enough, not smart enough, basically not man enough. It's kind of like one of those fears that doesn't always scream at you. Sometimes it just lingers in the background like a faint echo that you can't shake. But the weight of it somehow shapes how you see yourself, how you love others, how you lead, and how you live. But this fear runs deeper than failure because failure is temporary. You fall, you get back up. But feeling like that you're not enough, that's about your identity. It's about questioning your worth. And for a man, this struggle is everywhere, even if most won't admit it out loud. So let's talk about how this fear actually got started. As a boy, and you probably heard it in many different forms. Maybe your dad wanted you to be tough, to never show weakness. Maybe your mom leaned on you and told you to be strong, that you're the man of the house, even when you were too young to even carry that responsibility. Or maybe it came from school where the message is clear. Don't let them see you cry. Don't show no weakness. Don't fold. And so early on in your life, you learn the rules. Perform, don't complain, and don't break. And if you can't keep up, you start to believe that you're less than a man. And that's the seed that's been planted in us. And once it's planted, it grows with you into manhood. But then society comes in and pours water on it. And you're shown a constant image of what a man should be. He's supposed to be rich, powerful, confident, chiseled, in control at all times. And the message seems like it's kind of simple, that if you're not measuring up, you're falling behind. If you're not checking all of those boxes, you're not enough. And quietly, you wonder if that's really true. So for men, so much of our identity gets tied into performance. Your career, your paycheck, the car you drive, the house you live in. They all become symbols of whether or not you're making the cut. And when you fall short even in one of those areas, it can feel like your whole identity is in question. This isn't about greed. It's not even about ego. Really, it's about survival. Because deep down, men know that they are judged by what they can bring to the table. And if you're not producing, if you're not providing, if you're not proving yourself, then you fear being seen as useless or even worse, replaceable. But here's the problem. We can't keep up living like this, trying to prove yourself each and every single day like your worth is a contract that has to be renewed. It's like running a marathon that doesn't have a finish line. You might look strong on the outside, but on the inside, you are exhausted. But that fear of not being enough shows up strongest in our relationships. Because with your person, you may wonder, am I good enough for her? Am I giving her the life that she deserves? Will she look at me one day and decide that I don't measure up? As a father, that question gets even heavier. Am I raising my kids right? Am I present enough? Am I building the kind of future that they need? And even in your friendships, there's pressure. Men don't often admit it, but nobody wants to be seen as the weakest link in the group. So in order to not be seen as the weakest link, you overcompensate. You push yourself harder than you should just to prove that you belong in the group. But at the very core of this fear of not being enough, it's about disappointing the people that you love the most. It's about not letting someone down. And that thought alone can keep a guy up all night long. But here's where it gets heavy. Men just simply don't talk about it. They don't admit it because we know that vulnerability is very risky. Because as I said before, and many times before, that we've been taught that real men don't doubt themselves, real men don't crack, real men don't show weakness. So we just stay silent. We start carrying it like it's an invisible backpack, heavy and hidden. Nobody can see it, but it definitely weighs you down. And if you never address it, it shapes your whole life. Some men try to outrun it. They chase success, thinking that if they can hit that next milestone, they will finally feel like they're enough. But the bad thing is that the bar keeps moving. It's never enough. Some men deal with it by retreating, or they run from it. They give up, convinced that they will never measure up. So why even try at all? And thinking like that, it leads to missed chances, broken relationships, and a life that's half lived. And then some men, they try to hide it behind a mask. The mask of anger, pride, or even humor. Anything to keep people from seeing what's really underneath. But no matter how well you hide it, that question still whispers in the back of your mind. Am I enough? So now, let's talk about something that men really don't hear often enough. Men don't hear that their worth is not tied into their paychecks. It's not tied into their cars. It's not tied into their body, their title, or even their status. Because being enough is not about perfection. It's about presence. It's about showing up with integrity. It's about living your values. It's about being real. But men fear not being enough because we've confused worth with achievement. But the truth is that being enough is not about what you do. It's about who you are. So now, how do we break that cycle? First thing we need to do is that we need to name the fear. I mean, come on, say it with me. Say it out loud. I'm afraid of not being enough. Because the second you identify it, the second that you name it, it loses its power over you. The second thing that we need to do is we need to redefine enough. Instead of chasing this moving target that's been built by society, set your own standards. You base it on honesty, you base it on consistency, and you base it on effort. The third thing you do is you stop carrying it alone. The old saying is that you're strong for everyone else. But when you become weak, who's there to be strong for you? Because honestly, the people who you carry are not strong enough to carry you when you need carrying. So where do you go? You go to someone else who is strong just like you. You talk to someone who you trust. You admit that being human means being imperfect. And you realize that vulnerability, that's not weakness. That's courage. Because anybody can hold things within, but it takes a very strong and brave person to open up and expose himself. True strength isn't about never doubting yourself, because we all doubt ourselves at one point or the other for one thing or the other. It's about facing those doubts. It's about moving forward, even when fear whispers that you can't. Being enough isn't something that you have to earn. The job, the money, the cars, the houses, the status, all of that can be stripped away at a moment's time. But the man that you are, the way that you show up, the love that you give, that's just what's going to last. So why do men fear not being enough? Because the world has told him that their worth is conditional. But you don't have to keep believing that. You can choose a different story. The measure of a man isn't in his perfection. It's in his presence. It's not about never falling. It's about how you rise when you do fall. And notice I said when you do, because there are going to be some times when even the strongest man will stumble and fall. Now, that fear of not being enough never leaves completely, but it doesn't have to control you. The moment you stop chasing the illusion of being enough for everybody else, you start living as enough for yourself.